The door swung open, and there she was. My sister, staring, not just at us, but through us. I'll never forget the sound she made. A tiny, broken gasp as her eyes locked on Matthew's hand, still cupping my face. In that single second, the air didn't just get thick. It turned to glass and shattered around us. It crackled with the forbidden truth we'd whispered in stolen moments and sealed with desperate, hungry kisses. And in her eyes, I didn't just see shock. I saw the demolition of a heart in real time. And the worst part, we were the ones who handed her the hammer. To understand how we got there, how my world imploded, we have to go back about a year, to what was meant to be the happiest time in my sister Chloe's life, her wedding. It feels like another lifetime. Back then, we were the perfect family, or at least we looked the part. Chloe was my other half, the one person in the world I would do anything for, and Matthew. He was supposed to be the man who completed her picture. Instead, he became the one who tore mine apart. Matthew was perfect on paper, a successful architect with that unstudied, devastatingly handsome look and a smile that disarmed anyone. Broad-shouldered, fit, a man who wore a suit like it was grown on him. He seemed to worship the ground Chloe walked on. I was a graphic designer, stable life, quiet rhythm. My sister was my compass. Her happiness was my happiness. I stood as best man, proud, smiling, watching them vow forever at the altar. In that moment, I felt genuine peace. I thought the picture was complete. For months, it was. Family dinners, weekend trips, a rhythm that looked perfect from the outside. I truly saw Matthew as a brother. We just clicked. Same age, same hunger for ambition, same love of design. Our talks were easy, endless. But beneath it, I'd feel this vibration, subtle at first, like static under skin. I'd catch his eye across a crowded table, and there'd be a flicker, a glance that lasted too long, carrying a weight I had no name for. And because it was unthinkable, I buried it, suffocated it. He was my sister's husband. The thought itself was poison. The shift came quietly. A Tuesday night, Chloe had called me, sobbing after a fight. She wanted me there, to mediate. Their apartment reeked of tension. Chloe locked herself in the bedroom. Matthew was outside, hunched on the balcony, nursing a drink. His shoulders looked heavy enough to break. I went out, ready to give the pep talk speech, but he spoke first. "I feel like I'm failing her," he said, voice raw, eyes fixed on the city lights. He confessed the pressure of his job, the loneliness inside marriage, the exhaustion of being perfect while falling apart inside. He wasn't making excuses. He was stripped bare. And suddenly, he wasn't Chloe's husband. He was just a man breaking. I found myself opening in return, words spilling about my own isolation, the emptiness behind a life that looked put together. We sat there for an hour, just men unraveling. Chloe never came out. When I left, he laid a hand on my shoulder. It stayed there, warm, firm, a second too long. His eyes caught mine, and in that charged silence, I felt it. A door inside me, one I never knew existed, cracked open. From then, everything shifted. Texts about design turned into texts about life. Beers to decompress turned into nights where our laughter throbbed with an undercurrent. We created a language of glances and silences that no one else understood. Around Chloe, we spoke with our eyes, entire sentences carried in half a look. The guilt gnawed at me, but the thrill, the electricity of being wanted, seen, desired, that consumed everything. The first brush with disaster, a burst pipe. Chloe was gone. Matthew called, panicked. We spent hours soaked, shoulder to shoulder, fixing the chaos, laughing like kids. When it was finally over, drenched and breathless, we reached for the same towel, our hands touched. And in that instant, every molecule in the room shifted. His knuckles brushed mine, and I swear I could feel it in my spine. He looked at my lips. I looked back. The air bent between us. He was going to kiss me. I wanted him to. My pulse was pounding so loud it drowned the world. Then his phone lit up. Chloe's name. The spell shattered. We stepped back, pretending, but the question still pulsed in the air. What are we doing? Weeks later, my firm landed a massive client, a victory I should have shared with Chloe, but the only voice I wanted to hear was Matthew's. He insisted we celebrate. Just us. We slipped into a dim bar, tucked away in a corner booth, shadows licking the edges. Conversation flowed, but beneath it, tension pushed us closer. After a few drinks, he leaned in. "I think about that day," he murmured. My throat tightened. "So do I whispered back. His hand crossed the table, finding mine. Not casual, his fingers laced through, deliberate, claiming. My skin burned under his touch, my chest hammered. The whole world narrowed to his eyes, and the slow stroke of his thumb against my hand. Later, in the glow of my apartment lobby, I reached for the door. "Don't," he breathed. His hand caught my arm, pulling me back, and then his lips crashed onto mine. It wasn't polite. It was ravenous, desperate. Months of suppressed hunger, combusting all at once. Whiskey, fire, teeth, heat. The kiss didn't ask. It devoured. It was the most electric moment of my life, and the cruelest betrayal. From that night on, our secret lived not in words, but in bodies. Tangled sheets in my bed. The scrape of his stubble on my neck. His breath in my ear, whispering my name like prayer. The taste of sweat. The ache of restraint snapping over and over. We lived in shadows, building alibis, fabricating excuses. The smell of his cologne would cling to my pillow long after he left, haunting me more than comforting. It was ecstasy and agony. Impossible to stop, impossible to survive. The day it exploded was my birthday. Chloe had planned a surprise dinner at their place. The cruel irony. Just an hour earlier, Matthew had been in my bed, his body still echoing against mine. Our laughter hushed under blankets. He left just in time, and I arrived feigning surprise, my skin still carrying the warmth of his touch. After dinner, Chloe slipped into the kitchen to bring out the cake. Matthew followed me into the living room. His eyes burned with that dangerous tenderness. "Happy birthday," he whispered, too close. I smiled, reckless. "You already gave me my present." He reached up, cupping my cheek, thumb brushing across my jaw. Unguarded, intimate, so painfully out of place in that house. And then the door opened. Chloe froze, cake in her hands, candles flickering like witnesses. The silence cracked the room in half. Matthew jerked his hand away, but it was too late. Her eyes darted from him to me, realization blooming with raw disbelief. The plates clattered to the floor, wax dripped like tears. But unlike the nightmare I'd feared, she didn't scream. She whispered my name, and then his. "How long?" Her voice shook, but it wasn't rage, it was grief. Matthew stepped forward, his face pale, but his voice steady. "Too long to keep pretending. Not long enough to destroy you. Chloe, I love him." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked at me, searching, breaking. "And you?" My throat locked, but there was no more hiding. "Yes," I said. "I love him." The room spun in silence. Then Chloe set the cake down, her hands trembling. "Then don't keep me in a lie," she whispered. "Be honest, even if it kills me." That night, instead of vanishing, Matthew came to my apartment with a suitcase. His face was streaked with tears, but his resolve was clean. "I told her everything," he said. "She deserves the truth. She deserves more than shadows, and so do we." The weeks after were brutal. Chloe's heartbreak cut me open in ways I'll never forget. She pulled back, distanced herself, and for months there was no contact. But she didn't burn the bridge. She left it standing in silence. And slowly, painfully, time began to soften the edges. Matthew and I built something out of daylight. No more lies, no more whispers and corners. We learned to exist without fear of doors opening, without the constant buzz of being caught. The passion remained, fiery, relentless, but now it was threaded with something steadier, tenderness that could breathe, love that could stand in front of anyone. I know I lost something irreplaceable with my sister, but I also know this. Love that survives the truth is the only love worth holding. So here we are, Matthew and I. Not perfect, not clean, but real. And in his arms, for the first time, I don't feel like I'm burning in shadows. I feel like I'm finally home. What would you have done? Walked away from a forbidden fire, or dared to hold on, even when it meant burning the old life down? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know if you, too, would choose the light. If this story touched you, a like means the world. It helps me keep telling them.
I can feel you in the sunlight and through the cold nights when I close my eyes. I am walking, oh Lord, beneath the starlight, a love so pure. Right now, there's no place that I would rather be. So let this moment last. I've searched myself, I've tried to figure out who I am, and you were always there to lift me up. 'Cause no one else can make me love like you. You give me strength.